Oh, hi. If you can't tell, I'm in yet another kitchen. But in theory, this will be my final kitchen for at least a little while. Now, if you read the title, I'm making a protein-packed shakshuka. If you know what a shakshuka is, it's a tomato-based, usually egg-baked breakfast thing, but I'm going to add some meat and other stuff to make it a little more healthy and a little bit protein and iron-packed. Oh, hi. So if you've ever watched a video of mine before, this is a completely new setup. As I said before, this is a new kitchen, but it's also a new camera with a face tracking device. Now, if you find this really annoying, please comment down below, but I quite like it, so let's see what frickin' happens. I'm going to show you what ingredients you need for this hearty shakshuka with enough iron and protein to push you until tomorrow, and maybe even later. So shakshukas are generally very easy to make. You usually just need the crushed tomatoes, some capsicums or bell peppers as they call them, the onions, the garlic, and the eggs. Now, I'm actually adding a protein sauce, which is a good chuck steak. It's going to be slow cooked in this instead of quick done, so it won't go completely rough. I'll cook it before, put it in, let it simmer. I'm also putting mushrooms in, even though I hate them with a fiery passion, but I am cooking for someone else and me, so I'll pick them out. And I'm getting some feta for on the top for the saltiness, which this feta I love. It's absolutely creamy, but non-sponsored, I wish. I've come down here with you. Generally, this recipe is pretty easy because of the fact that most of the stuff and steps are already done. Because of the crushed tomatoes, you can get your fresh tomatoes, crush them up yourself, and then stir them and stir them down and melt them down a bit to get them to this point. It is easier just to get cans. It's really up to you. I've got the basil and oregano ones just to add more flavor and depth, and it'll stop you from having to add even more flavoring down the line if you don't have extra seasonings at home. But I'm on the assumption that everyone has a fully stocked spice rack. If you don't, that's fine. Use what you have. I personally hate mushrooms, as I said before, so I don't usually cook these and know the steps on how to actually pre-prepare these. So there is going to be probably judgment from all you guys about how I prep these. But from what I've read and what I've done before, very long ago when I tried to like mushrooms, that will be my steps in this. If you know a better way of doing it, to put it in this, go for your life. But I'll just saute these before I chuck them in so they end up blending in and they're a little less coarse because they taste like dirt. So I'm just going to tie up my hair for hygiene purposes because you don't want food in your hair in your food. I'm going to slowly prepare the capsicums. You do, for a smaller amount, you usually use one capsicum, red capsicum. I'm using 2 for texture, taste, and a bit of change up. You also usually only need 1 medium onion. I'm using one medium and 1 tiny one just to bulk it out a little bit. And I'm going to use this whole clove of garlic because garlic is God's gift to us. So I generally cut my capsicums ends off. This brings out most of it. The problem with cutting it how most people do with the ends off, you lose a lot of the actual capsicum itself. This is easier because now I've just got most of it out. I can pick it out and put it on a plate, or I'm just going to put it on the side here because I have no bin around me. Usually we have Fogo bins, but we don't here. I do this one too. Once these are cut, because you need them into probably nice medium-sized squares. And make sure I've got nothing in them. Like that. I will clean this up after. When you film, you end up kind of not being as clean as a cook as you usually are. But I'm not doing too bad. See, I'm not caring too much about the size just because of the fact that, it's fine. You don't want them too small so they disintegrate and then you have no capsicum at all. I'm recommending probably about this size. Not too big, not too small, but won't lose complete body of capsicum, I guess, after it's cooked. If you can't tell, I have stopped because the mess was going to annoy me, so I put it in a bowl and found a bowl. That is all sliced up into a good size. There are some bigger pieces and I will cut those down. I will put those to the side. Where is the camera? Down here. I'll put those to the side and then cut the onions into nice strips and then put it in a hot pan with a bit of olive oil. You don't want too much olive oil that drowns, but enough to like make sure it doesn't stick to the pan. So now we're going to slice the onions to be about the same thickness as the capsicums. As you can see here, I cut off both the ends and peel off the skin and then do it. This actually is a really easy way and really a quick way of doing it without making it cry. As long as you don't touch the ends a lot, you shouldn't have too much onion eyes. There is many different ways of cutting onions. This is just the one that I really like. While the onions and capsicums are sauteing in the background, I'm going to prepare the mushrooms. So I start dicing them, not too small that they disintegrate, but small enough that they blend well with the rest of the ingredients that are quite small. I'm also going to crush up the whole entire garlic. I'm assuming that everyone knows how to, or buy a hand crusher. I wish I had one. I don't have one here. It would make my life a shit ton easier, but I don't have one and we'll work with that. So that's very loud. I'll go with that. This recipe though will usually only use one pan. Shakshuka usually only use one pan and you cook just one pan. I'm going to be cooking the meat on the side and then introducing it in afterwards. So you'll need 2 pans for this recipe, not just one, sorry. I just cut one of the mushrooms and it has a really bad texture. I really don't like mushrooms, but I really love my friend who I'm making this for, and I'll just move it out of the way when I eat it, or add it in. No, I'm not going to add it in the last, I'll do this. Because the rest of the meal tastes divine. It's the mushrooms that add so much more into it. It does blend in pretty well, so if you don't like mushrooms, it's probably the best one to try liking them in, because otherwise it tastes like dirt. But in this they taste actually kind of decent, but texturally they're so weird. So weird. I don't get it. I don't get why people like them. Blended in stuff, yeah, that's fine. Blended in this is fine. But weird texture. I just cut one and I'm already like, yeah. I've officially cut up all the sad mushrooms. This is what you need. It's not too fine, not too thick. You have a bit of a variation in size. That'll help because then you won't have, it'll blend in more with the smaller pieces, and then it'll eventually have some chunks so you're not completely like avoiding the mushrooms, as I would wish I could, but they're good for you and we need to eat them. Try to eat them. Maybe I should make a series of shorts where I try and eat mushrooms. Maybe. Like, saute them butter, nope, maybe, we'll see. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know that sauteing onions and capsicum and mushrooms takes a while, so I'll leave it for a bit. I've begun crushing the garlic. It does take a little bit with how I've got it. You can buy the hand crushing, as I said before, which I really, really like, or there's this using your knife and palming it down to squish it and get it smaller. You want to try and get it as small as possible because you don't want chunks of garlic. No one wants to bite into a chunk of garlic unless you're someone who likes, like my granddad, swallowing a whole clove. I mean, it keeps healthy. I mean, just, can you do it? It's up to you. You know what I should have done with these? Blended them. We'll get there. It smells so good though. So the garlic is cut and this chopping board is too big to do this, but I'm going to chuck it in so I can cook with the capsicum, onion and mushrooms. You don't want to leave that too late because then the garlic will can't be too intense in the meal, and then it'll be not the nicest to have because you'll have big chunks of like garlicky overwhelming in this. You want everything to be cohesive and together. I'm just going to take you off the gimbal to show you the food. At this point, you can see how everything is slowly becoming masticated and soft and tender. You don't want to go too far because it'll become too soft and fall apart in the meal because you let it simmer for quite a while. Now, after hopefully that beautiful shot of the capsicum onion mix, we have these pieces of chuck roast, slow cooked roast. They do have quite a lot of fatty bits in them, so we're going to cut off as much as we can. Otherwise, you end up with these kind of gross fatty bits. You can find a leaner piece of meat if you would prefer. This is the affordable one because it will slow cook after it is cooked more in the sauce. This is the best choice for me anyway because it's thick and affordable, but yeah, you do get kind of gross bits. I will cut out before I slice it. I'm just going to chuck a little bit of olive oil into this pan. I don't usually use non-stick pans, but this is what I got, and I'm going to throw the meat in. That is already hot. I've sliced up the meat quite nicely, so it should slowly start sizzling now. So now the meat is cooked to medium rare. You can see it's all rare, and this is masticated. You're going to have to put in the tomato cans, all 4 of them. I'm going to do this awkwardly, and the seasoning I put it in the espresso cup because it's adorable. Once that's all in, you're going to mix it in properly and let it simmer for a while. So the spices were, as I didn't say before, is 3 teaspoons of paprika, 2 of cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of chili. You can add more if you really like. If you like spicy, I prefer to put more in, but if I'm feeding other people, I try to tame myself from being crazy with spices. And about 2 tablespoons of parsley leaves. And to taste, as always, salt and pepper. The sauce has been bubbling for probably about like 3 to 4 minutes now, so it's actually got quite a lot of heat to it. I'm going to chuck that through and leave it on simmer for another 5 minutes to make sure the meat's heated up and cooked and tenderized a bit more. And then I'll move on to the eggs in a moment. It is smelling really good in here right now. Now I won't put this in the recipe, but this is a little sneaky little trick I do to put some more vitamins and minerals into my diet. You can put the kale and spinach mixed like this into it and it'll melt down and won't feel like it's there anymore. Kale and spinach are both good for your health. It's linked to your heart. I'm going to stop myself there because I ramble on about the health benefits of kale and spinach for way too long. So I have to let the sauce and meat bubble for the last 10 minutes. I've just taken out a piece of meat to check how tender it is. You can't just touch it and feel it, but I'm going to taste it. Oh, yum. That's perfect. I can now put the eggs in. Now that it's been cooking for a little while, I'm going to put in the eggs. So you're going to make little wells. I've got 6 eggs for this, so there should be up to 6 meals, or 2 eggs, 3 meals, up to you. So I'm going to put like little wells and crack each egg into one of those wells. Usually you'd probably use a little bit of a bigger pan than what I've got now, but that's perfectly fine. Okay, we're going to leave this for a little while and let the eggs cook. We're going to put a lid on top of it though to help the eggs get to a slightly cooked. And then we're going to chuck the feta on top and then let that melt too. We're at a point that I am extremely happy to put in the feta. I'm going to crumble in it on the top lightly. I want to melt it in. Usually a lot of people put it on not melted, but I just want it in nice big chunks so the flavour of the feta also infuses. And there we have it, completely finished. This is great as is, or with some toast like sourdough, really good to dunk in and like sop up the bottom bits of the juices, or even pop the eggs if you've cooked it right, so the eggs should be slightly running in the middle. It is also good with pita bread, or just as is. Eat it in the pan, or share it on a polite table. It's great. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, follow, jump on my website for the recipe. It's been good. This is very hot and heavy. Bye guys. Thank you. Bye.